Welcome back to the AC Pulse, the beat of what's real, raw, and reverberating through today's creative revolution. This season, we're spotlighting artists who are pushing past imposter syndrome, burnout, and all the invisible barriers that stand between us and our own greatness. Today's feature is Alehna Taylor, a portrait artist capturing the pulse of Denver's queer community through color, texture, and most of all, truth. But before the brush meets the canvas, there's there's a familiar tug of war, self-doubt. Alehna doesn't pretend it doesn't show up. She just meets it differently, not with grand epiphanies, but with a quiet, consistent act of resistance. She keeps working. Let's drop in. When the doubt creeps in, when the canvas feels cold, Alehna sits anyway. Because sometimes the magic isn't in the inspiration, it's in the discipline. It's in choosing the work over the worry. And for Alehna, that choice has led to discovery, to identity, to community. Here's her story.
I keep working. I feel like every time I feel that block, I know at the end of the day, this is my passion. So then I just keep working through it. And even if it's like 20 minutes, I'll just like force myself to do it. And I can usually get into that flow. Usually when I'm like doing like a detail part of a painting instead of the person, I find myself never wanting to work on it, but if I just sit down and do it, then it kind of comes and I get lost into it really easily. So that helps, just forcing myself to do it.
Absolutely. It's easy to forget how far we've come when we're still deep in the work. But sometimes the clearest mirror is the version of us who once only dreamed of this life. Alehna takes a pause and turns her gaze backward. What would her younger self say about the artist, the queer woman, the human she's become? Let's hear it.
They'd say, that's crazy. I don't know. Like I used to always, I never thought that I would go somewhere with my art. I just thought it was like something that I was interested in it. I wanted to be an actress, and that was a weird time in my life. But eventually, like I was drawing so much, and it just became like where I tried painting once, and it just like clicked for me. So I think my younger self would probably just be like, "Wow, why aren't you acting?" You know. But I think that's she'd be impressed. So, yeah. She's like, "You're gay? You've got a mullet?"
Are you tired of thriving too loudly? Exhausted from overcoming systemic barriers with too much flair? You might be eligible for imposter syndrome plus trademark. Now with 40% more gaslighting. Side effects include undercharging, over apologizing, and believing mediocre white men when they say you're too much. But wait, there's more. Call now and we'll throw in a complimentary crisis of confidence trademark just in time for your next gallery opening, grant deadline, or existential breakthrough. Brought to you by every arts institution that told you they loved your work but didn't have the budget. Imposter Syndrome Plus, because being excellent was never going to be enough anyway. Not FDA approved, may cause symptoms of revolution. Ask your therapist if clarity is right for you. Now let's head back to the show.
I think that with the work that I do is a lot of portraits of others, and then also with that, a lot of self discovery. So I learn a lot about myself, and in the process, I learn a lot about others, which like is almost this perpetual like growth process for me. And like each project kind of feels like it's never ending because it feels like I'm constantly learning about myself, and then it inspires something else to go off of that. And just learning like this current project, I do portraits of the queer community in Denver, and I feel like learning about my community here is just like so fulfilling. Just like being able to understand other people and their process and identity is just like another way I'm like, oh, I never thought about that, or like how people discover things about themselves is really interesting. The amount of work and time you put into it, sometimes it can be really daunting, and it can be really scary putting yourself out there, especially when it comes to like self-portraiture or something like you're getting perceived in a way that you like for a long time didn't think that it would be perceived by the outer world. Even that's like a desire of yours, it just feels so like vulnerable in a lot of ways, because it just has a lot like people's interpretation can be totally different from what you're expecting. And like what you think is amazing can be like someone's like, I don't really like that one. It just can be like open to a lot of scary feedback.
Absolutely. Putting your truth on a canvas isn't just about creativity, it's exposure. It's handing the world your inner world and waiting to see what it throws back. Alehna knows that kind of vulnerability does not come with guarantees, just risks and the possibility of rejection. But as you'll hear, it's that same vulnerability that also creates connection, that opens a door, not just to being seen, but to truly seeing others. Here's how her work with Denver's queer community is turning portraits into portals. It's one thing to be vulnerable in your work, it's another thing to navigate an entire industry built to overlook, underpay, and undercut you while doing it. Because for many women artists, especially queer, non white, or non traditional voices, the art world does not just question your worth, it dares you to prove it again and again and again. So we asked Alehna, what are the harsh truths she's had to face on her path?
I think knowing how to find my voice without losing it either. Being a queer woman, I think there's a lot of like, I find myself wanting to fit in the art world, where I'd rather like, instead of doing art that appeals to a bigger audience, like I find myself like struggling with that piece of just being like, no, I want to do something that I love to do rather than what will be accepted more widely and get more popular or something. That's something that I feel I struggle with a lot more. And just like feeling overlooked sometimes, and just especially with like being a bigger bodied person, or just like maybe not conventionally attractive in certain ways, or like to the art community, I feel like that could be something that like could help perpetually move me forward, but some things don't based on that, you know.
In the art world and the world, period, Your body is often seen before your brushstroke. Alehna just gave us a real one. She named what so many of us feel but don't say, that even in spaces built for expression, we're still navigating silent judgments tied to size, beauty, and desirability. And still, she creates. Still, she shows up. Still, she chooses truth over comfort. So if her story moved you, tell her. Drop a comment, send a word of support. Let's make sure artists like Alehna don't just feel seen, they feel celebrated. Because it's not just about showing the art, it's about showing up for the artist. This has been the AC Pulse, where we don't just vibe with the culture, we shape it. Until next time, keep creating, keep questioning, and keep pulsing.